Hello, everyone watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. This is a podcast for mortgages, the mortgage world rather, just where we get people who influence the mortgage market or have been particularly successful or just have an interesting kind of story. So today we have Matt Coulson from Heron Financial. Thanks for joining me, Matt.
Hello, Marcus. Thanks for having me. Appreciate being on.
Pleasure, actually. I wanted to get you on for ages, but we've never got around to it, so it's good to get you on. So just start with, if people don't know, talk to me about your kind of financial services journey to where you've got to at the moment. Because I know, although you look about 20, you've been in it quite a long time.
Yeah, I don't feel it. I don't feel it. No, thanks for the compliment. I'll take it, though. I don't get many of those. I guess my journey is not untypical. So similar to lots of people, I guess, who do what I currently do, which is started out really as the T-boy. So you're probably going back certainly pre-2007. So when I actually joined the mortgage industry in that kind of very junior admin role, it was up in the northeast of England, and starry-eyed, I'm going to conquer the world kind of stuff, and that was definitely prior to everything going wrong, albeit not necessarily miles ahead of that. So I had a couple of years where I was kind of photocopying, making cups of tea, and shadowing, watching some really experienced advisors. And at that point, you kind of, you don't really know what you want to do you? You sort of see people who, on the face of it, are doing well for themselves, and that's kind of where you want to get going. So, delusions of grandeur probably, but also not really much of a clue as to how to do it. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I'm fortunate that it's sort of in the family. My old man is in the industry as well, so I've kind of grown up seeing him do things and look. And you almost
that's made a difference, because obviously your old man is very well thought of in the industry, and you haven't gone down the same path. Obviously, like you haven't been together in that sense. But do you think that had a quite big influence on your early stage career?
Probably subconsciously, because I think it's a little bit like people who, forgive me, who become teachers. I think a lot of people who become teachers sort of look at the teaching profession because that's all they've ever known as a sort of a grown-up who has a job, and think, I could do that. So I guess maybe a little bit of that with me, where you're almost a bit lazy. It sort of allows you to almost forget that decision-making process of what am I going to do with my life. So you sort of see somebody and think, I could probably do that. My mum was a nurse, so I knew I didn't want to do that bit. Didn't have any interest in medicine or anything. So possibly, and I guess it's a kind of natural flow. It helps that he was able to introduce me to people that would give me a chance, as said T-boy, and that definitely helped. So I think that was a big part of it. I gradually sort of realised that if I was going to do anything, I'd probably need to get my CMAPs and get qualified, and did that. And that was, I think about that now, because we obviously have lots of people in our team now who go down that route and take that journey. And I think about it now, and it wasn't particularly fun, because it was very much a case of come in early, leave late. You're doing a bit of revision before and after work. You're in the midst of being somebody's administrator during that period. So at that stage, I'd sort of moved from the northeast into Yorkshire. I was working in a company in Sheffield that, at that point, again, pre credit crunch, was a big business. It had 40 something people in it. So, that was quite big in the mortgage world then. And I was fortunate enough to see that, looking after a handful of advisors there. Got my CMAP. I think either they took pity on me or they were desperate because they gave me a chance as an advisor. And literally, I mean, you're talking a matter of months, the world ended. So I kind of finally went through that journey of, somebody's going to give me a chance. And I'm going
to make it. Oh, shit.
I've done it. Here I am. This is it now. It's the land of milk and honey. And honestly, these were like, you'll remember it, self-cert, 125% mortgages. It was pre-Northern Rock. It was literally, you kind of looked at it and thought, wow, okay, well, if I can just get good at this, I'll do pretty well. And then the world sort of came tumbling down. And from there, it was pretty clear, I think, and again, lots of people will be very familiar with this story, that most areas of the UK, particularly some of the northern cities that had probably been overdeveloped a little bit with speculation around buy-to-let, became just almost impossible to get a mortgage. So I sort of up sticks, moved down to London, and got a job there. Again, somebody took a chance.
I've never asked that question before, actually, but you actually moved here just to kind of follow the money, just because it was a tough time. Oh, interesting.
I think, again, naivety, who knows? But I sort of looked at it and thought, well, where on earth can you get a loan to value that works now that every lender has pulled away from the high LTV stuff? And it was really only London and the Southeast. So again, somebody gave me a chance, and I'm very grateful for that. And that was sort of where I started to, I guess, grow up a little bit in terms of understanding the industry more, rather than just going with the flow.
You know what, I always said that about the 2007, because I was the same. I thought I was just earning good money, and then all of a sudden you hit it and you realise you knew nothing about the industry.
Yeah,
Assume you did, because it was like, oh, this is just easy. It's just how we make money. And I was commercial finance, particularly. It was just shooting fish in a barrel, and then all of a sudden I realised that
goes.
I didn't even know what the funding lines were. I didn't understand where the money was going. So it's a good bit of a baptism of fire when you've got to actually learn.
It's a huge baptism, and I think like I say, that was probably the point where I started to understand that actually this isn't just turn up at work and you make a load of money. You've got to work for it, and so all the way along, people have given me a chance, which I'm very grateful for. And sort of 2-3 years after that, met my now business partner Warren, and we got on really well, and just decided, we can make this work. We're an odd couple. We bring different skills. He's a supreme door opener, phenomenal in terms of building introducers for us, talking to people who can bring clients our way. And I guess I'm the sort of nerdy, boring one that tries to make sure that they have a nice journey when they land in the top of our funnel.
All good business partners I speak to, like, it's pointless having two of you do the same skill set, same knowledge. Every good partnership. I think I talked about this last week's one. It was literally pointless to have two people doing the same job, right? So
I'm convinced we're also probably the only two people in the world that would put up with one another. So there is that as well. Yeah, it helps, because we're both kind of tricky in that respect. So and that was it. And we started Heron in September 2011, which scarily now is into its 13th year.
That's crazy.
Feels long, but also feels quick at the same time. And that was. That was an idea at the time. Again, you go into that and think, well, this is going to be great. 4 years' time, somebody will buy this and I'll be sat on a beach and I'll be done. Of course, never actually materialises that way.
You know what? Just go touch on that, because I speak to so many brokerages when they start out and they're like, this is their 5-year exit.
Yeah, we're the same.
It's nearly unheard of, isn't it? Like, unless there's a load of money at the front end. I just don't like. I think people have to be realistic about how long. I mean, you've had great successes, but it takes years, doesn't it? And it's.
I mean, it's very, again, I just keep using that word naive, but it's probably representative. But, we were very fortunate to have MAB put their trust in us a couple of years ago and invest in us as a business, which has been tremendous. It's been absolutely brilliant. New ideas.
Obviously, it's, cash on the table. We're not going to talk about that. But, I mean, what does it mean for you as a business when you get invested in? What did it mean for your plan-wise?
It's supercharged us, if I'm honest. I mean, you have that sort of period of time where there's a hell of an adaptation, right? So we didn't come from within the MAB network.
You've never had a boss either, have you? Like, you've never had anyone to.
Not for a long time.
You've got a boss now, but you've never had anyone else like accountability-wise, have you? So.
That's different. Albeit, what I would say with MAB is it doesn't feel like that. It feels like a partnership, and I'm not just blowing smoke here, because they would. Happily take the good and bad feedback, and we're very honest with each other in the way that we operate. But after that initial adaptation, which I think is inevitable, we'd operated under Primus's umbrella for a decade, right? And so all of your systems and processes have been built around that model. That was amazing. Primus helped us so much, and helped us kind of go on that journey. You then move into MAB world, which there are similarities, obviously, but there are also differences in the way that they do things. And once you get through that initial, realistically, kind of 12 months of, okay, this is how we do that now, and that's a bit different. And you only really find these things as you go. Once you're through that, it's brilliant. And now we've got.
Because I always hear when people join new networks. Sorry, I keep biting into it.
No, it's fine.
But when people join new networks, it does always seem to be that first 12 months where they're like, oh, this isn't what we thought it was going to be. And actually, you can't be resistant to change, can you? Because you've got to adapt, right? It's just they're not all the same.
You've got to embrace it. I mean, we, probably guilty of that during some of that sort of transition period. We're like, oh God, what
no one likes change, do they? You've built a business the way you've built
human beings. Yeah, we don't like it, do we? So, but now that we're through that transition, it's very, very exciting. And what MAB have brought to us is fresh set of eyes. You've had one network kind of helping you for 10 years. It stands to reason that if you then start to work with somebody else, in a much more sort of hands-on way,
Yeah.
then they're going to bring new ideas. It's inevitable, and it's been great. You get exposure to new people.
Does
You
it feel
get
like a bigger business because it's part of a bigger business when you have that? I'm interested. I'm just genuinely interested in what it feels like when you get invested in. If it happens to us one day, it's amazing. But
it is amazing.
Does the business change so much, or is it?
Well, what's again, and I'm not just saying this to be nice in public, but what MAB do is they're very clear that they recognise that what you've done historically has what's got you to where you are. So there's no sort of meddling aspect. There's no you're never going to get somebody saying, "Well, you must do it like this now." There's always a conversation, and it does feel you do feel safer. Funny enough, because you've got a sort of network of people to fall back on who are not just there from a regulatory standpoint; they're also investors, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly, yeah.
so they have, at least from a sort of perspective, my perspective, more skin in the game. They are more heavily invested in your success because it means more to them naturally, and that brings confidence. I've lent on some tremendous people within MAB.
Yeah.
For stuff, there are massive limitations of what I can do. I'm not very good at most things. I've got a kind of tiny little window of things that I'm all right at. But I know that if I'm having a conversation that's strategic or something that maybe I'm starting to feel a bit out of my depth, I can literally just pick the phone up and say, "Could you help me with this? Can I get on a call?" And they're there. And from that respect, that's been a weird feeling because you do spend, we spent 11 years on our own.
Yeah, yeah.
Without that
Guesswork as well, isn't it? Like none of us have been where the next stage of our business is.
No.
So we're all
No.
kind of winging it. So actually to have that kind of, I suppose it's mentorship, and we will touch on mentorship again because I know that's big in your business as well. Kind of from the
but
ground
it
up.
is. It's mentorship. It's somebody who's been through it before. There are also other invested businesses, right? So all of a sudden you've got people who are ahead of you in that journey, and there's some amazing people that we've met through that process where I'll actively pick the phone up to, our compatriots who, on the face of it, you might look at it and think, well, hang on a second, aren't they competing with you? Aren't you looking for the same client? But how many people are in the UK? We've got a lot of clients. We can probably collaborate a bit
1.8
better.
million remortgages this year. I'm sure we can share that evenly.
I'm sure we'll be busy enough. We'll be okay. So that's another part. Is you talk to these other investor businesses. How did you deal with this? How have you and yeah, it's been mega for us. It really has. Beyond that transition, it just gets really exciting. And I think now for the next few years, I'm looking at it thinking I've never felt as even before. We're recording this in February. We know that January was better than probably people expected. Even before this sort of unexpected positivity, we were excited about this year, and a big part of that is the strategy stuff that MAB's investment has brought. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
really good.
you just Scott takes the shackles off a bit then. Because we've all got great ideas, right? If cash flow met ambition, we'd all be flying. 'Cause that's a small business. That's constantly everyone's problem. And I speak to small business owners all the time, and I get it. And it's like the unspoken thing about cash flow and how we all want to grow, but you've got to kind of catch up with yourself all the time. So yeah. Obviously, if it takes the shackles off a little bit, it's
it's hard, isn't it? Like you say, you'll be the same as us. You have ideas and you think, actually that's the way the market's heading, or we could make a big difference with something like this. And there's a cost attached. And I'm not saying that we can sort of wander around now writing blank checks. That's not the case. That'd be nice. But it's
a bit more freedom,
nice,
though, right?
Well, yeah, it's nice to be able to say, what do you think of this opportunity? We've had some conversations. This is where we think it could fit into our operation. This is where we think that individual could work or this business could work. Is it worth exploring? And then to have somebody say, yeah, actually, we need this shopping list
It
of
must be quite reassuring as well.
stuff.
If you've got
really
people
reassuring.
who've done it, and they say, yeah, that's a good shout. Because we're all kind of guessing, aren't we? And you can only talk to each other, and we can both go, I think that's a good idea.
I mean, every day, probably like you, I make it up as I go along, right? So you kind of, there's lots of things that you sort of just making up as you go. But to be able to sort of find an opportunity, which nowadays comes to us, which is amazing, and then do that initial groundwork, have those chats, and then be able to go to somebody who's got deeper pockets, frankly, and say, look, is this something that we could explore together? And them say, yes, absolutely, let's explore it. It's a weird feeling, but it's a nice feeling.
Yeah, but that's growth, right? You can't. It's so hard to grow. I mean, you can grow steadily. Everyone can grow steadily. That's why I've got a job. But that big growth strategy when you become a small business to a medium size, it's tough, right? You do need that kind of mentorship. You need that, and you need the cash as well.
You do, and it's nice to have somebody who believes in you.
Yeah.
You know, it's very nice to have somebody who recognises that what you've built works, and almost, you know, they're sort of encouraging you to say, well, look, can you do more of that? You know, what can we do to help
That is
you
amazing,
do more
actually,
of that?
because you think there's 1,400 mortgage firms roughly, and not everyone gets invested in, right? So what you're doing is nice. That must be a great feeling if someone goes, I trust
Very
you
lucky.
with, yeah. It's not
We
luck.
feel very lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah, we feel very lucky.
You said lucky quite a few times today about how lucky you've been through your career. It's not luck. You earn it, don't you? But
I guess, you know, what's the Gary Player thing? The harder I practice, the luckier I get. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, cause maybe, but yeah, you got to sort of have those
you know what?
moments.
Every business
land in front of
owner I
you.
have on the podcast, they tell me how lucky they were,
Well,
and it's just
yeah.
I know, and I always say the same thing. Like, it's not luck, because there's
Well,
loads of people that are attempting to do what you do. You know, so it's hats off to you. One thing I did want to touch on was the mentorship side of things. So we obviously know how your business works, and you've got a great kind of academy system that's rolled out for you, that's worked. And I know we spoke the other day, and you did say, you know, it does take years to perfect. But talk to me about what needs to go into building a business that way. So you're going to train people up, you know, even from, I know, or even without CMAP and that kind of thing, and work them through the business, and that works really well for you. People have tried it and it fails. Why do you think it fails, and what do you think has been so successful for you?
I mean, I think it fails because there's an element of having enough resource to put in at the front end, and I think sometimes maybe we all focus on short-term results, don't we? It's very difficult when you know, you've got a problem that needs to be solved, because ultimately what we're talking about here is recruitment, right? Broadly. So, you know, a lot of people I think are quite reactive. We've historically been very reactive on the recruitment side, and that's natural because you don't want to take cost on when you don't need it. So
I always say that with academies. So I think I speak to new businesses who want an academy, and I'm like, it's a great idea, and I'm a big believer in them. And I'm not just saying that because I recruit for experienced people, but you need quite fairly deep pockets, right, for it to work.
yeah, you do, or you need a track record, you know. And again, I'm going to use lucky, fortunate, whatever you want to say, but we've found fantastic people over the years, and it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And one of the things that really it does bug me now is this sort of desire that everyone wants to recruit someone who's got experience. And it's like, well, if everybody wants an experienced advisor, where do you start? Where do you get going? And that annoys me because it's almost a barrier to people joining the industry.
100%.
And
yeah,
we have a problem.
We get it all the time. Yeah,
We have a
skill
problem in the industry,
shortage,
right?
but we want people with skills.
Yeah, I mean, so how do you figure that out? And I think, you know, we're a weird model. You know, we are very, very productive. I know we're not alone in that respect. Particularly, you know, a lot of these sort of online type advisors are better than us at that. But we have a super fast pace and a level of expectation that we put on our advisors that's very high.
Yeah.
So you've got to be pretty exceptional to make it work.
You set that standard early, don't you? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's drilled into them from the time they start that this is our standard. I think that's a really important thing to point out.
You've got to signpost it to people. It's not fair not to. So, you know, we will, you know, if we're interviewing somebody who's got ambition to become an advisor, and you're right, you know, our classic model is that we would recruit somebody who isn't an advisor. We would have them potentially work in our administration side of our business, which is, to me, is as important. You know, shouldn't ever be a sort of secondary consideration. But we also have a kind of an area of the business that's almost a bit of an advisor support team where you're kind of doing everything but advise.
Yeah.
And even if we're bringing people into there, which is typically where we would recruit for, we don't normally recruit a frontline advisor straight off the bat.
Yeah.
We'll signpost in the interview process. There is going to be a level of expectation on you that is very, very high. There will likely come a feeling of pressure. Mm-hmm. You'll get a tremendous amount of support. You'll get a tremendous platform to work on in terms of the tech that we give. But you've got to be able to deal with competition, expectation, because not only have you got to satisfy clients, you've got to satisfy introducers, which for us is agents, house builders, other things. And we'll tell people that in interview one, because what's the point in going down a journey with somebody if you're going to try and lead them at the garden path? You create an advisor and they're like, hang on a second, I can't do this. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you've got to recruit the right personality.
Weird expectations of that, because they, not of you, I mean, business owners have expectations of, I'm going to set up an academy in 12 months' time, it's going to be easy, I'm going to flow, and How long did it take? Like, it's a tough journey to get it right.
Yeah, I mean, it's never perfect. I think you said perfect. It certainly isn't that. It's always changing and always improving. And we tweak the job description every time we recruit someone because we think, oh, hang on, that wasn't actually when they came in. It was a bit more of that, and a bit less of that. And we're constantly looking at that job description that we give to you guys and others to say, look, this is really what it is. And so I think you're always learning on that. A, the industry evolves, but B, you learn more about the experience of people who come in.
So, doesn't it? Getting here gets you there. I was at a seminar the other day saying that the people that you bring in at the beginning aren't necessarily the people that are the next stage, and you can't see that at the time. But people don't evolve as quickly as business evolves, right? So there's always going to be that part where that did fit what we needed then, but it doesn't fit what we need now, and it's either kind of change or move on.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll happily sort of assess that as we go. So you could have somebody who you thought actually was going to go down the advisor path, and turns out there's another path for them that's more suitable. That we've got people who've progressed from an apprentice basically into managing a team. And it's not advising, but it's important.
Not everyone's going to become a good broker, right?
No.
So if you've got other avenues for, because we were saying this before, it becomes like the worst thing to do is move up the best billing people into management, because that's what we've always done as an industry, right? It's just if you bill the most, you're then the manager, and hopefully that trickle down. It doesn't work because they're not natural leaders. No. Do you have this all kind of mapped out for yourselves as to this is where you become if you're like this, and this is what you become if you're a kind of XYZ?
Well, I think it's more of a sort of we have a really rigid sort of review structure with everybody. So line managers will be constantly in discussion with anybody that's within their orbit to sort of understand where do you see yourself going. And it's all right for that to change, by the way. It's not, we're not going to hold you to it, and we'll support you, because ultimately if you've got somebody who's a good person and is good at what they do and is good for the business, well, you want to kind of find a place for them. And we all have different skills, don't we? I'll go on record and say all of our advisors are a better advisor than I ever was. We've got a team of advisors who are much, much better than I was as an advisor, and I'm proud of that. I'm happy about it. So you've just got to try and build the next generation through to be better again. And whether or not you're going to be an advisor who becomes a superstar, or whether you're going to be somebody who ends up running one of our other teams that's not advising, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you're happy in what you do and you bring a value to the business, that's the main thing, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk about that, actually, that next generation, because I hear this all the time, and I hear myself sounding like an old man. But things are changing, right? The way we would talk to do business has changed. Maybe that, not drive, that's not fair. I don't know how, like I think for me, if I try and make it sound simpler, like when I was younger, I didn't stick out like a sore thumb because I had a good work ethic. I had a good work ethic because everyone else had a good work ethic. I think now if you are a bit younger and you are super driven or just driven, you do kind of stick out because there is a bit of a lower playing field. But you've done really well at taking on the next generation and work them through. So is it us that's doing something wrong? Because you're clearly getting it right in that recruitment aspect. What is it that people are missing? Because it's too easy to go like that old man thing. Oh, it's just not like it was when I was younger.
Yes, we're sort of grumbling about the good old days. We've got to be careful with that. I mean, look, I think there is a shift, and we've evolved again as a business. You have to start. You can't be as gung ho, I don't think, these days. You can be sell, and certainly the regulator would probably take umbrance with that for good reason, because if that's unchecked, then there's going to be a problem somewhere. Law of averages. So I think it's really about harnessing somebody's ambition, but doing it in a way that doesn't make them feel inadequate if that ambition changes. So it's okay if you come in and you think that you want to be this kind of world-beating superstar, in inverted commas, because who's going to define what that is. But actually you shift and you think I would like a bit more balance in X, Y, and Z. Well, that's fine. Again, it just comes back to that. Are they happy and are they bringing value to the business? Well, if those two things are ticked, then you just sort of want to keep them there, because it's about people being happy in what they do every day, and whether that means you've got to evolve as a business or not. How do you kind of
test that? How do you test it? Because people like blow smoke, right? Because you're the boss. How do you test that kind of keeping people happy? Or is it based on, is it results? Happiness.
It's results. Yeah, it is results. I mean, let's not sort of flower this. We're very results driven. We don't hide away from sales. We sort of run it and dovetail it alongside doing the right thing for the customer and measuring that alongside sales. And if you're good at one but not the other, then you're not going to succeed. You have to do both. But the results bear themselves out. If you're sitting in front of somebody once a month to say, okay, let's talk about the month we just had, and there's a consistent theme of under delivery, well, then there just needs to be an honest conversation to say, what do you think it is? Is it that you're not enjoying it? Are you, is it not right for you? Is there something that we're not doing to support? Let's talk and just be honest with each other, because that's the easiest way. And if it isn't working, then that's fine.
And do you find that's relatively easy, like communication-wise? Because again, like generationally, it's not as easy to give feedback. Now you're not used to it. We were just told before, like it was. Yeah. Get on with it.
I've had a few of those. Yeah.
But do you think, if you had to change the way you manage over the last few years, was it generally, have you always stuck to it? Because your standards are really high, your work ethic's high, so it's clearly not generational. I think it's the way that we're trying to get it across.
Yes and no. It comes back to the signposting. So, I mentioned to you before, in interview one, if somebody's going to come in and at least initially think, I'm going to go down that advice track at some point, you're from then, you're basically saying, this is what it's going to be like. We're not going to hide that. And what that then means is that you can be honest straight off. And I think you don't have to be rude to somebody to be honest with them. You can deliver a message in a way that it might be painful to hear, but it doesn't need to be painful because it's inappropriate or rude or anything like that. It can just be like, this is what we agreed based on the discussion that I had and what you said that you wanted to do, and this is where you're at, and it's not what we agreed. So what is that? And that will hurt, particularly if somebody's competitive. But you can say it in such a way that
take feedback is the most important thing about getting better, right? And I know it's horrible. I'm bad at it. I have to walk away and come back with my answer because I don't want to hear it. But I'm aware of it. I'm aware I'm bad at it. So I always say, right, I'm taking that on board. Yeah. And I'll come back to you, because it's too easy to flash, isn't it? Because no one thinks they're doing the bad job. Yeah. But to be able to get that through to people and be able to, that's like across the board with people, like feedback's important, right? Taking it on, giving it. Very,
and it's been a weakness for me, if I'm honest. I've, for the first time ever, over the last sort of 18 months or so, I've had some coaching, which was recommended to me, and it's been massively eye-opening, hugely helpful.
Incredible, isn't it? I've had a coach for 3 years, and it's absolutely, we don't know what you don't know, do you? Especially about yourself.
No, and you sort of, I guess as well, to an extent, as a business owner, even if you have a business partner, you kind of don't. You have a soundboard, but not really. You're kind of just making it up. So to have somebody who's saying, well, actually, what did you think about the way you did that, and why did? So anyway, the reason I mention it is one of the things that came out of the initial discussion, that kind of fact-finding stage, when you start to get to know someone, is that I've been very bad at trying to almost protect people and make it easier for them, because you don't want to upset them. You want to get them to where they can get to, because you can see it for them. And you're almost trying to give them a real massive leg up. And I think that it was going too far, and you start to sort of take all that on. But the reason that it sort of flipped in my mind is because when I had those conversations with the coach, it was like, well, you're not actually helping that person because they're not getting better. You're basically allowing them to achieve more, but without improving themselves, because you're kind of protecting them to the extent where they can do it without having to think about what they need to get better at. And
well,
since we had those discussions, it was massively changed.
I had a conversation with a coach recently on the same thing, where she said, so what did you do? Because as business owners, we are natural problem solvers. So we just go in and solve a problem. And she said, so what you're actually doing is stunting that person's career.
Exactly.
Because every time you help them, every time you solve that problem, without them working out, or without you just asking, what would you do? You are literally doing nothing for their career. And it stopped me in my tracks. But I do get it in regards to, same as you, right? You're a problem solver, and it's quicker to do it. It's quicker to solve a problem, because I've done it a million times, so I know what the problem is. I know how to solve it. But you're right. I'm awful at it. I'm an awful coach. I'm an okay problem solver, fixer, but actually coaching someone, because I just think I could do that. I could do that for you now and fix the problem.
And there's a number of reasons, right? A, you're going to fix the problem. B, you don't have to have an awkward conversation with somebody.
I don't like confrontation.
And so you're not going to upset them. So it's understandable, and I'm not making excuses for myself here, but since I started to recognize that trait, it's really improved things. And again, just be honest. Like I've literally said to a bunch of people now that I manage, in inverted commas, albeit I don't like the hierarchy stuff. I am going to be a bit more sort of honest with you. It's never going to overstep, but it's because I want to try and help you. And who would have a problem with that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you constructive feedback based on things that I think can help you get better. You can take it or leave it. I'm going to give you it though.
Yeah.
I don't. In hindsight, I think why did I never do that in the first place?
It really resonates with
Mental.
me because I think there are people even in our business. If I know one in my business listens to this, they say they do, but they don't. They never get to the 30 minutes.
Yeah, no one in mine will listen to this either, so it's fine. It's just me and you.
But it resonates with me because I do think that, and also I think that there's some people that you want to help, but you don't need the confrontation side of it. And actually, if you do it and you're honest with them, the outcome is nothing that you thought it was going to be, right? We overthink things like, and then they'll be pissed off, and then I'll be pissed off, and then we'll never get to the problem. And actually, people like the feedback as well. That's why you've employed them, right? That's because they're good at it.
Yeah, and I'm totally like a stuck record here, but it is all the way back to the first part of the relationship is signposting. And if you just let somebody know this is probably how our relationship's going to work, and these are the bits that I'm going to put out there now that you might have a challenge with, but let's talk about it now before we get to it.
Yeah.
I think if you start like that with anyone that you bring into the team, then they know where they are.
We do a similar thing with behaviours. So we do above the line behaviour thing. So we've all agreed it, we've all signed it to say this is our behaviours, and because of that, we can call each other out in public.
Yeah.
In public with each other, not in public. We call each other out, and the reason for that is, what's the point of me telling you something when it could help someone else?
Yeah.
So no one takes it to heart. It's just business. No one is going to, it's not going to be there's never going to be a personal thing. But if we all agree that if I call you out, you can call me out as well, because they go, that's not what we agreed. That's not the behaviours that we agreed. That's not the standard that we have all adhered to. It's so much easier then, isn't it? Because then your management is just on your value of, look, come on, we've all agreed to this. That wasn't that.
This isn't what we set out for. And you will, the wonderful thing is amongst our team, when those occasions are, and they're rare, happen, you will just get yeah, you're right. Yeah. Include myself in that. Yeah. You're right. Actually, I don't know what I was doing there.
Yeah.
But thanks for sort of bringing it up. I don't know what I was doing there. Yeah, I'm going to sort it out. Yeah, fine.
Cut a corner
Done.
there, wherever it was.
No fallout. No upset. No, not just agree.
Yeah,
all right,
I had exactly one the other day, and I was overthinking it. Like, I've got to have this conversation, blah blah blah. And before that even happened, she came to me and went, I fucked this up the other day. I know why I did it. I won't do it again. And I was, well, we all know then.
Done.
Good. So we're all on the same page, right? We're all adults at the end of the day. We should be able to improve each other's lives by just being really honest.
Totally. And I think, just coming back to the other part of your question, which was ages ago because I was rambling, is how do you get that sort of culture? We create that competitive culture deliberately, and it's a balance, isn't it? You want to be able to, you want people competing. I'll be honest, you do want people competing, because that's, to me, is a great motivator, and it drives good behaviours, it drives dedication, it drives all the things that you want in your business, and that comes through your customers as well. Because if somebody really wants to help them, then they're going to help them. But there's also the support element as well. So we do a lot of sharing best practice. You do lean on the senior people, the people that have, particularly in the advice space, that have been there longer, to sort of present, to the group. And there's no. Yeah, they want to beat each other. They all say that they don't, but they do. But they're also very happy to help.
Competitive collaboration.
Correct.
It means that everyone in here is super driven. Everyone wants to be the best. Everyone wants to win. Whatever it is, they all want to win. But at the same time, we help each other out, right? If I can help you in your journey, then I will, and it works. You've got everyone to buy into it, right?
You massively do, and same in the non-advisor side. We've got a couple of managers who are more experienced than some of the newer managers, and it's amazing to just see them just help them. There's no kind of, well, this is my little area and that's you over there, and you good luck with that.
You build that culture. You can build a culture. This is really important as well for people listening, because you can build a culture on hard work. I'm starting to feel like
you definitely can.
Hard work seems like it's a bit of a dirty word at the moment. Like, it's mutually exclusive to being a really hard worker, or working long means you're a shit parent, or means you're not looking after your mental health, or you're not caring about people. Like, hard work is the core of every culture that is successful, but yet we sort of ironed over the top of it like it's a bit of a dirty word.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, think about the customer, right? So if you let's talk about our world. If you've got a client who's looking for a mortgage, are they going to want somebody who is completely dedicated to making that happen for them and getting them the right result as quickly as possible? Because that's normally the main driver, isn't it? How quickly can I have this thing? Or are they going to want somebody who's a bit more lackadaisical? I mean, if I'm the client, I know which one I want. I would apply that to any service or product that I buy. I'm going to look at the person and think, are they going to get me that in the way that I want it when I want it, well,
You know,
I'm going
I
to
think
go with
I
them.
was talking to Emma Ross the other day. Yeah, it's actually a podcast coming out, and she said the same thing, that she works till sometimes she has to work till 2 a.m, but she can't tell anyone. I said, but if you're my broker, I want to know that you've worked till 2 a.m.
Of course.
because you've got to finish it, and that's what I expect, and that's why I'm paying you. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I don't know why it's suddenly become this thing of, oh, it means, oh, wait, you didn't get up with the kids for breakfast or whatever it was. You know, we build
I think
businesses on hard work.
there's a balance. Yeah, there is the hard work, and I think for us, it's intensity is probably the right way to describe it, because when, you know, and I don't know whether we're going to get on to talking about being based in the office or being based at home, but a big thing for us is being in the office, and that period of work when you're in the office is intense, right? It's crazy. It's a million miles an hour. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's very intense. You feel like you get to the end of the day like, wow, that was
Love
mad.
that feeling, though, don't you?
And it went so quick. Where on earth did that go?
Yeah.
But look at what I did. And I think as long as you're delivering that, what you then do, and you know, be my guest, chill out, relax, because you deserve it, because you work hard, and your client can feel that. And if they can feel it, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
I think that's really important. I mean, I'm not saying you need to drill yourself into the ground. I just think that we've got through this thing now that we're afraid to say to people, like, if you come here, you got to work hard. We have a high standard, and our clients expect it. That's why we charge, or that's why we're very good at what we do. That's why we get referrals, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just feel it's been lost recently. And again, I think it's that old man thing when I'm looking at it thinking, we're allowed to say that this culture is a hard-working culture, or competitive culture even. You say oh, don't put too much pressure on people. Pressure.
I have no qualms with that. Yeah, I agree. I have no qualms with that. I think, you know, we've got to be mindful we don't go too far. I mean, you know, so for the first time ever that I can remember, towards the tail end of 2023, I reached a point where I was just like, I am just done. My brain's frazzled. You know, I've never had that in my life. Maybe it's because I'm getting old.
We talked about it, didn't we? It was just it was a weird year where I thought that it happened to other people. You know, when you were like, I just feel like shit.
I was kind of flat. I wasn't my normal self, and I've literally never felt like that in all of my years of existence. And I think there was an element of, you know, trying to do too many things and spin too many plates. And of course, you are dealing with a backdrop that's, let's face it, it was challenging, wasn't it? You know, for any number of reasons that we're all well aware of. And you know, that sort of was a learning experience for me, because it showed me that I'm not invincible, and that I've got to take this time and have this balance, and also then therefore I need to make sure that is also communicated across to the team that I work with, to say, look, first of all, if you're feeling like that, there's no shame in it. It's fine. Yeah. It's not some, you know, la-di-da-di thing. It's a real thing, because I've felt it. Yeah. And secondly, you know, just make sure that if you are feeling like that, just chat to me and I can help.
I think that's because that communication thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, just talk. Talk.
I love competition. I love culture. I know we're saying the other side of it, but you don't want to. I think you push yourself as a business owner more than you would ever push an employee, right? They're competitive. They're naturally competitive. They want to win. I don't think that. Yeah, you don't. I want to drive someone else to the point of the way we do, because otherwise they'd be doing it themselves. You know, so it's a tough gig.
But you've also got to have trust. You know, so I implicitly trust the whole team.
Yeah.
Right. To just do the right thing, and therefore, and also, you know, there's a track record there of tremendous delivery of what the business needs. So if somebody then says to me, and we've had it, you know, I'm feeling a bit at the end of my leash here. Yeah. You know, am I all right for the next month to sort of not go as hell for leather as I have done? You know, I need to get a few things boxed off. Yeah. This is what I think I can do.
It might be something with a person as well, and it's connected. You know,
fine.
There's lots of things going on.
Absolutely fine, because there's so much goodwill there.
Yeah.
And so much trust that actually this is for the right reasons, that you allow somebody to refresh themselves, you know, without the pressure that they would normally have. And they come back and they're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm a million miles an hour again. That's great. Yeah. And that's, I have no challenge with that. It's better for them to
take 1 month out at not a million miles an hour than to take 3 months just not saying anything and just slowly dropping off the edge.
Just talk, like, just tell us, because we understand, you know, and everybody's human. And yes, we're
really
very
like
aware.
That concept of building up goodwill as well, because obviously they've done it for you, so you know they can do it. That's not the issue. It's not the will thing. It's literally the.
No, there's no doubt over skill. There's no doubt over ability or attitude or delivery. It's all there. It's just sometimes we have stuff that happens in our lives that you just think, okay, maybe that's nothing to do with work, but you probably just need a bit of time and bandwidth to deal with whatever that is over there, and we'll give you it. because I know that you'll come back and do what you've always done and more. So
Nice.
yeah, it's good.
It is that trust element, like you say.
That takes time, though, doesn't it? It takes time.
And if you, how long did it take you, do you think, to get it, like the way you communicate your message now, the way that you've got that trust with your employees, is that something, well, that doesn't happen overnight, right? That's something that you've had to build up over years. When did you say, look, it clicks?
Oh, God.
Or is it like, when an injury goes and you just all of a sudden, I wasn't for the injury anymore, but you can't think when it was?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I can't probably pinpoint the moment, but what I can say now is that, just that implicit trust in everyone has not always been there. Because you go on a journey, don't you, where you you get it wrong as a business, you get it wrong in the way that you manage people, you get it wrong in the way you recruit, and there's all these areas, and unless they're all broadly right, there's going to be a problem. And so I think for the first time in forever, for the last 2-3 years, for me, it's just like, I don't need to worry about any of that stuff, because you have a self-fulfilling prophecy. So you've got a bunch of people that set the tone for anybody else that joins. So I'm confident now, anybody comes in, you've got a collection of tremendous people that will basically show that person the way to succeed and enjoy themselves. So I couldn't,
that's the magic of building a culture, though, isn't it? That's the magic of, because people think culture is the ping pong table and everyone getting pissed on a Thursday, but culture is them having to, without you having to ask, them showing up and doing the things you're expected to do in that business, and then
and having trust
to do it.
It's the trust bit, it's the trust in each other to just know that this is the end result that we're all heading towards, and I trust that you'll get there, and I trust you'll do it in the right way, and I'll trust that you'll help your colleagues along. And so, and if everybody approaches every day like that, then we're fine, aren't we? It's this kind of shared responsibility, just down to little things like we introduced something a couple of years back where the phone rings in our office, everyone has to answer. Yeah. Right. So it's not, we've had times in the past where it's one person's specific job, etc. And, you can see how that becomes a slippery slope. Whereas now, everyone has to answer. Obviously some people will answer it more than others. That stands to reason. But at some point in the day, everyone will answer the phone.
Back in the day, when I was in 2006, 2007, that phone rang more than 3 times, and then the old sales manager would poke his head up like that, like you're answering that phone, right? It used to be more of a threat than it was just a build. It wasn't a trust thing. It was you knew you had to do it. But now it's more of
talk about it. We talk about it and we celebrate it. So we have a Monday morning meeting every week. It's virtual because we've got a couple of offices at other ends of the country, and everybody's on it. And it's 50% nonsense and singing happy birthday to each other and having a laugh. But we celebrate stuff on there. We talk about things that are coming up in the week ahead. But one of the things that is an agenda item every single week is call stats. And that will be number of calls, time on the phone, and it's so old school. And people probably listen to me and you think this guy's like a dinosaur, but
it's relevant metric to you, though, right?
But it's celebrating client contact, right? So our business is built on the conversations that you have with the customer and the conversations you have with the introducer. And if those numbers are high, then we're getting better, right? Because we're building better relationships. So I don't think it's unfashionable or uncool to talk about that stuff. Because
it's funny, it's just how you reframed it then. Like, that's client contact. How many clients have we spoke to this week as opposed to call stats makes everyone shiver, don't they? Because they think of like I'm not slagging them off, but the companies where you have to press the button to go to the toilet and all that jazz.
It's none of that. It's none of that.
But it's actually, like you say, it's how many people have you helped this week? And this is a really obvious way of showing how many you've helped. Call stats for us is a metric that we don't really follow because we're about a different metric. Because sometimes it's just very different. But
you don't want to be a busy fool. Ring your mum and put it on hold and sit there all day.
I heard of this one the other day where someone was ringing their own mobile phone.
I can fully imagine that. But the nice thing is, when you're sort of showing that and celebrating the people that have done particularly well, because you see the growth as well, and you see people thinking, again, competitive thing. I want to get top of that list, and you then sort of bring in another segment about where we talk about reviews that we've received in the last week, whether it be Google, Trustpilot, whatever, which we do. We set a lot of store by those, and you can see it because it will mention 3-4 people. It will talk about conversations. It will talk about actual interaction with a customer, not just this was really quick. And it's like, well, you put those two things together. It's not coincidence, is it? You make all of a sudden you get a bunch of
data on that as well. Like, look, the more people you call, the better you are. Like, it's just
get more reviews, and they're longer. They mention more people's names. You look at the keywords in them because Trustpilot and Google will allow you to do that. You can start to see what's coming up a lot. What are people saying what word are they using
You
a
know,
lot
we
in a
just bought
5-star
some
review?
wicked software for the same reason is that we only help like 10. Oh, sorry, I've kept you for ages again. I just looked at the time.
It's all right.
We've kept. We can only help sort of 10-15% of people we speak to.
Yeah.
Our biggest concern when we look at our strengths and weaknesses is what we're doing with the other 85%. So we've just
Yeah.
got this new candidate journey software. So they're
Right.
constantly giving us feedback. And it's really, really interesting to see. Like, we don't know where we're cocking up before. So it's really interesting to see actually, so people don't feel like you put in enough effort after maybe you can't help them or maybe you didn't explain it as well. So it just breaks down each individual consultant. But everyone's
Yeah.
really going to embrace it because we all want to get better. And it's,
Well, you're helping them to get better, aren't you?
exactly.
You're giving them more
I can't
tools.
listen to every phone call, but and it's irrelevant if I say you're brilliant because it's how
Yeah.
the customer feels, right? So the customer actually answering that is going to be a game changer for us because we can actually, and the data is so granular that you can go, look, we are cocking up on this bit. People don't think we're good enough for this, and because of that, they won't refer business to us.
Well, you need the data as well, don't you? And it sounds like what you've got there is superb. And I think that's just an example of the sort of thing, yes, there's a crude measure, how many minutes you're on the phone for and how many times you picked it up.
Yeah.
But, we focus a lot on putting data in front of people that will help them.
Yeah.
Because
data for data's sake is pointless, isn't it? But
rubbish, yeah. So
we'll says the profit is in the data. So I need to. I never even track it before. Now I'm
not wrong.
Impressed by it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, we'll talk about it openly with advisors and all the way, real granular stuff. And again, there'll be businesses that are much, much better than me at this. So I'm not professing to be the expert. I'm just talking about some of the things that we've had success with. And, things like what's the pickup rate on your appointments? Because it might well be that you're the world's best appointment booker, but how many of them actually show up? And is there an issue there? And all of a sudden you sort of shine a light on, that's just one example, the kind of things that we measure. You shine a light on that and they're like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay, that's probably the little gap that we need to bridge to get you from where you are to where you want to be.
The 1%'s around, and who doesn't want to get better? Who doesn't want to make more money at the end of the day? Because I've
Yeah.
given this extra little bit.
Yeah, and you can find that there's so many good pieces of kit out there now. I mean, we're very sort of tech heavy in our business because we've built our own.
Yeah.
That sort of becomes it's become a beast of. In fact, it is the ghost is in the machine now because we've put AI into it.
It's starting to fix itself, and it's going to sack you soon. That's what you mean.
Yeah, you talk about not having a boss. I have one now. It's just not a person. So it's a sort of super intelligence. But yeah, that's we've got to sort of keep going with that because. You've got to have the right data and then have the person to deliver it in the right way. And it comes back to that honesty thing where you're just like, look, I'm going to put things in front of you. Some of them are going to feel a bit uncomfortable because it's probably not what you expected or what you felt. But I promise you, if we talk about them like grown-ups and you then embrace what you need to do, you'll get better.
Yeah.
And that's it. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that, right?
Yeah, and also it's not emotional. This is
No.
data. This is telling you if you do this, you will get this. So you can't go there for the old management of like, I feel like you should be doing this. There's no feeling involved in it. It's a science.
Well, I think the only emotion that I feel in respect of it is the want to help that person get better.
Yeah.
I feel an attachment to all of them because you can see the potential and you can see where that.
Right? You've got the data to improve someone's life. So
So my emotion is I'm really keen to help you improve this. Of course, it's going to help the business make a profit, but ultimately, it's going to help you get loads better, and I can see it in you, and I can help you get there. You've just got to listen and take it in the way that it's intended, not personally. Yeah. And I think that's all right, isn't it? Is it? I don't know.
No, absolutely. We embrace the data. If you can't, then there's an issue, isn't there? If people can't, because no one can look at it and go, no, you're not. I don't agree. Like you can't not agree with it. I think embrace the data is a great way to leave it. I always ask people for the last bit of advice, but I think that's. If anyone gets anything from our ramblings today, I honestly think like they're embracing the data, and also of the building the hard work culture from the ground up. I think are the two most important things that we could get across. But I've really appreciated your time today, Matt. I appreciate it. I know I've taken you 18 minutes over more than I said I would, but I'd carry on talking. I've got about 8 more things to talk to you about, but I just I appreciate
I just wander off on tangents, so apologies to anyone.
I'm genuinely interested. But if anyone wants to get hold of you, Matt, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Probably LinkedIn, I would say. So just add me on there, message me on there.
Yeah.
I'm not a prolific LinkedIner, but if you find me on there, I will get back to anybody.
I am, so they can always get in contact with me, and I'll pass them over. But I will.
You've just volunteered to filter those people.
Thanks. I'm a great secretary, if nothing else. But if all of Matt's and Heron's socials will be all over our marketing, etc. So if anyone does want to get hold of Matt, by all means do. Thank you very much, Matt. And thank you everyone for listening and watching. I appreciate your time, Matt. I'll speak to you soon.
Been a pleasure. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.